What are subtle red flags at a job interview that say, working here would suck? This wasn't during the interview but after the fact. I went for the interview at a dental office for reception work, was offered the position about a week later. 20 minutes after I accepted the job, the lady called back and said Dr. So-and-so actually hired another person for a job at one of our other offices but they need to train here. Unfortunately, there isn't enough space in our office to train 2 people at once so we'll have you start in a few weeks. It's been a year and they still haven't called me back. Luckily, about 45 minutes after that phone call, I got an interview at a different company. Something in my gut said take the interview even though you were offered a job. And I got that second job 2 weeks later and I'm about ready to hit my year mark with that company and even got a promotion and raise 4 months ago. So yay. Good idea I didn't wait around for that other job. Occasionally I want to stop by that dental office and ask them when I'm supposed to start. Do it. Applied for a guitar tech job at Guitar Center. Went through 3 levels of interviews. Right during the last one, this freaking dude goes through all my paperwork and is like, you got the job. We're gonna start you off in sales. And I was like, I didn't apply for sales. I've interviewed the last 3 weeks for the guitar tech position. And he just said, I know, and had this crappy stupid smile on his dumb face. And that's when I realized they probably don't care for their employees there. One place my wife interviewed asked her if she had any kids or planned on getting pregnant soon. Both questions are illegal to ask during an interview. If they dodge the question when you ask about ours. I just got out of an interview. Red flag 1. Was never informed that it was a group interview. They said they were hiring for several positions as they were a new branch in a new market. Okay, fine. Red flag 2. When we walked in the office, the receptionist was on the phone. I heard her say, well no, the training isn't paid. It's only 5 days spread out across 2 weeks. And paid training means they don't want to invest in you until you've proven to be valuable. The only way they can afford this is to hire groups of desperate people and train them with no pay. The ones that stick around keep the crappy job. Red flag 3. Compensation was briefly mentioned as a commission rate on different products we would be selling. Letting someone leave an interview without a realistic understanding of compensation means that you know that's a deal killer more often than not. If to move forward in the hiring process you have to pay them for anything, this needs to be higher. I mean, a lot of these red flags are good, but this is a pretty much guaranteed sign right here. I had an interview at Tops where the interviewer talked for 5 minutes about how her honeymoon begins at the end of that workday. I got the job, technically because she said she would contact me when she got back about when I could start working. Years of unemployment had finally ended. I couldn't wait. 2 weeks and 4 days later I called to ask about the job only to be told I don't remember you and I don't remember any interview. I was devastated. A year more with no job and I began the rotation of searching again and got an interview. 8 to 10 years of cashier experience gets you an interview but never a job. I went into the second interview thinking it might be someone new. It wasn't. What she said when she saw me made me see red. Oh, I remember you. When they mention the high turnover rate several times during the interview. If the interviewer cancels and forgets to tell you. I once drove an hour each way just to learn that my future boss took the day off. Not a sick day. She had booked a vacation months ago and didn't bother clearing her schedule or checking it when scheduling my interview. That job ended up being very short-lived and traumatic. She was fired like a month after I quit. In science, we work hard. Professor Y has high expectations. I don't believe in vacation. Actually heard this one on an interview once. I don't believe in vacation. Funny, I do. If they show you large commission numbers from a few years ago, Hotels.com did this, but what they didn't say was the large checks were from a year ago and they changed their commission structure since then and those checks are no longer obtainable. Hostile interviewers. I had an interview years ago where they had a good cop, bad cop routine going. The good cop asked me about my hobbies and seemed interested. The bad cop scuffed and rolled his eyes. I'm working a job I hate but pays well. When we do the group interview bulls we do the reverse step brothers. The company recently fricked me out of $10K. I tell every prospective employee. While waiting in the lobby for my interviewer to come out, a man flung the work area door open as he was screaming and literally sobbing about the place being worse than heck. It was like a red flag factory exploded in my face. Had a similar experience. Was waiting in the lobby to interview at Lockheed. Two employees walk past escorting someone to the door they had just interviewed. Everyone is talking pleasantly. They hold open the door for the girl who just interviewed. She leaves. As soon as the door closes, they burst out laughing and start making fun of her. In the lobby, in front of other people waiting. Mine was going for a corporate job that required travel 40% of the time, which to me didn't sound so bad. I interviewed separately over a day with like 8 people on the team. I'd say about 4-5 of them had negative things to say about the travel aspect, so that was a red flag for me. Also, anytime they mention travel, ask how much of a heads up you get. Almost worked at a place where trips to Korea were planned days in advance. Screw that, I'm not about to tear apart my schedule last minute for crap like that. Sometimes you just get a vibe in a place that it is way too serious, and I don't mean serious in a good way, but instead that everyone is walking on eggshells type of serious. I get skeptical of places where everyone constantly praises the bossier founder and constantly mentions how ultimately they make the decisions or things like that. That just sounds like a place run by an iron fist. I just quit my latest job a few weeks ago, and one of the things the girl training me said was, actually when manager pulls you up on something, don't say anything, just agree even if he's got it wrong. Lasted 7 months in the place and I honestly don't know how I got that far. The manager was an absolute C and everybody was terrified of getting on his wrong side. Orientation isn't paid, meaning that people quit every other week, meaning the job and management probably suck. When the person interviewing you is the person whose job you'll be taking, and they're quitting because the job sucks. This comment is oddly specific, but I'm currently interviewing candidates to take over my job. It's a real ethical dilemma, encouraging someone to take the job I'm leaving due to dissatisfaction, but I tell myself that they may enjoy it better than I have. I once interviewed with a company and they had a paper that showed the breakdown of how all the shifts reported. It was basically a flowchart with names and start dates for their employment. Only one name had been there longer than a year. Worked for Site L once. I was there for 6 months. I was being considered for a management position because so few people had even been there half that before quitting. My roommate once was asked to do a trial run as a waitress since she had no experience. Sure, that's cool. It was for Valentine's Day lunch. Surely she will be shadowing and letting drinks and whatnot. Nope. They put her out there solo for a 5-hour shift, then asked her to come back that night to work a double. She never got paid for it and never returned. That's illegal. I once went to a 4-hour job interview that was 4 different 50-60 minute sessions, each with a different group of people. Every single group asked me the same dang questions, while repeatedly warning me how busy the department was all year round. It raised a red flag. If you're so freaking busy all the time, then why don't you get more efficient and interview me all at once? I got the job and learned that this was pretty typical. They were always busy because they were inefficient. In reality, they really didn't have to be so busy all the time. I often did extra work to fill my time because I did things much more quickly than the previous person to do my job. One that I've experienced, they asked me to start immediately. When can you start? Tomorrow. How about right now? We're way behind, thanks for joining the crew of the Titanic. Watch your step. She's listing about 20 degrees to starboard, but a finer luxury liner has never sailed the seas. If they say they don't like favoritism and drama, they love favoritism and drama. When they ask how much I'd like to get paid, I say $11 an hour. They chuckle and counter with minimum wage. Why'd you bother asking in the first place? Sam's Club. I had an interview where the guy said we work hard here. I'd like to say we play hard, too, but we work hard here. Then, later on when I asked about what happened to the predecessor, he left. Unfortunately, he took on a little too much, became unhappy and left. He's taking some time off before he decides whether he wants to stay in IT or not. So you overworked a guy to the point where he decided he needed a new career? I've learned that any job that uses any version of the whole "we work hard but we play hard" is actually saying we're going to work you like a dog round the clock, but twice a year we'll bring in a cake or something and think that makes up for it. If the interviewer seems stressed or rushed, that's your first sign. When they pay you through PayPal and you're 2 weeks in without any sign of a contract yet, I have a feeling they're not paying their payroll taxes. They mention that you can use the position to get your foot in the door at the company, and after that if you don't like it you can use some internal application and hiring process to switch to a different position. The initial job is going to suck and switching to a different position is going to be much harder and more time consuming than they let on. There will be no availability in the area you'd really like to work in, despite constantly hiring new people from the outside. What we do here is like strawberry ice cream. If you like strawberry ice cream then great, but don't apply here if you like chocolate ice cream. It turns out chocolate ice cream was synonymous with being paid. They wanted me to explain my tardiness stats from high school. I'm in my 30s. I once interviewed for a company that said they'll be holding on to my passport and my university degrees as long as I work there. While I had heard of such instances, I also knew it's against the law. Unlimited earning potential. If they say, "It's like a family here," they mean the drama is unbelievable, and yes, it gets very personal. Looking for a rock star, especially at a startup. Looking for someone who works late for no pay and does the work of 5 people, while having no outside life. We work hard and play hard means we expect you to work unreasonable hours, and becoming a functional alcoholic is really the only way to cope with it. Had an interview with a store owner once when I was in high school. Guy threw a pad of paper across the table at me and told me to list out my values. The values of an 18-year-old applying for a job as a cashier at a sporting goods store. What? Jotted some stuff down and he then proceeded to tell me why all my values were wrong. Family is great, but God is greater. God should be top of your list. School is only good if you get to work in your field. Work ethic? I'm just going to assume you don't know what that is. You definitely don't know what love is, so don't list your girlfriend anywhere in your values. He then told me that I'd be less than minimum wage as a trainee for as long as he saw fit to call me that, and how that was completely and totally legit. Promptly noped the frick out of there. I hated this crap when I was younger, applying for department store jobs anyone could run. The interviewers acted like he place was the big top of something. The worst was Radio Shack. Had to drive 1/2 hours for an orientation thing. The district guy gave us a talk and was like, "If you work hard, you can be just like me. No thanks. You look miserable as crap." Baker here. On my first day I was given a potted tree. I was told to plant it. If I was still baking when it got big enough to hang myself off, I should, because this is not the job you want for the rest of your life. I would have a hard time saying no. I just really like Gallows humor. Been waiting to share this story. So interviewing for a programming job. Things are going well and it's near the end of the interview. The VP of IT asks me in all serious and candid tone, "How would you feel or what would you say if the CEO called you into his office and said, 'HPSTRGRMR, is your work just crap? Why do you suck?'" I nervously laugh a little, expecting it to be a joke or a lead-in question. But no, this was a serious question. I don't think I would respond very well to that. The group goes on to tell me that the CEO is a very brash man and doesn't mind going off on you in private or in front of others. The QA guy chimed in and said it's like steel sharpening steel. If you are going to war you want something hard and sharp like steel. You don't want to take something like clay. I said that's fine if you are made of steel. But I didn't get to this point in my career to be bullied and harassed like that as a form of motivation. I find it better to motivate people with a positive attitude. Lead developer asked, "Well, do you have any more questions for us now that we have scared you away?" "Nope, thanks fellows. It's been real. Oh, and by the way, this war-minded company job was software development for fitness clubs. Yeah, that's real war, alright." If they say that overtime is expected, that just means they are understaffed and you will be putting a lot many hours you are not getting paid for. If they tell you that you could work a wide range of different duties and tasks but then ask do you mind if your title is test engineer, guess what? You're going to be doing testing, not doing design or the other interesting things you could be working on. Been through job interviews. A few I've seen. A hostile interview in which the interviewer deliberately acts difficult and challenging to see how you behave under pressure. If they're willing to treat you like crap during the interview, they're willing to treat you like crap at work. Never interviewing with your future boss. It's okay for early interviews to be screenings with HR, but at some point you should talk to people you're going to working with. A failure here indicates that they aren't investing much in you and don't expect you to stick around very long. Vagueness in describing the job. If they can't tell you what your day-to-day is like, you probably won't like it. The interview process with my current job, which I love, went like this. 1. Got a call from HR to set up a phone interview. 2. Phone interview was with one of the 2 managers who run the department I would be working in, though not the manager I would be working for. 3. In-person interviews with the manager I would be working for, his boss. Managers of 2 different departments that I would be working closely with. HR manager. Going out to lunch with the team I would be joining. So, if you have an employer that does that, it's a good sign. You'll be required to work overtime when appropriate. Okay, that's fine. So is it a week on, week off system? Number. You'll need to work overtime when we need you, right? But you'll give me notice in advance? Number. If we need you to work overtime you have to stay. I told them there and then to keep their job. I'm desperate but not that desperate. I heard that observing the body language of the workers at the office is a good source of information. If people look sullen, won't make eye contact, etc., it might be better to find a different spot to work. Assuming the interview is going well, I always ask how the team spends their lunch. I didn't ask it once and I found that it was expected to work through your lunch every day, even for an hourly position. I asked at my last interview and it actually opened up a great conversation about the day-to-day operations of the department. It can be a risky question, but useful if asked correctly. When your position has huge opportunity for growth but they don't have anything more to say other than the executive team has a lot of plans for this department. If growth opportunity is important to you, get a 3 or 5 year plan. If there is no plan, there is no growth opportunity. When they brag about something that would normally have negative connotations but try to put a spin on it, maybe it's bragging about how people burn out because they are not tough enough, or not flexible enough to handle the schedule, or not dedicated enough to keep up. It's not because they're not awesome enough, it's because the job is going to suck and they're probably sending out new resumes after 2 weeks. I've had several interviews where I walked away from the offer. 1. I was interviewing for an ITMGR job at some small mid-sized company. During the interview I asked about the person who I'd be replacing as it was mentioned that he was still there and the interview was hush-hush. I was told that he was being replaced because he was slow on getting things done. Well, we don't really know what he does. Nobody here is technical but him. I heard that as, we don't know what he does but we want it done faster and we are firing him because of it. 2. Same interview. So you don't have a college degree. Why should I hire you over some kid fresh out of college? I dunno. My decade plus of solid work history and proven track record. I did get offered the job and turned them down. 3. I was left waiting in the lobby for 20 minutes after the interview was supposed to have started. They marched down endless rows of cubicles into a bland meeting room where I was group interviewed by 7 people. None of whom seemed to be having a good day. They then wanted to test me. Never mind that I've years of senior Unix admin work on my resume. Ask me how to clear a printer queue. 4. The interview went well, really well. I even had a former co-worker who now worked for the company saying amazing things about me. The problem was the offer. They wanted me to go through an agency for 3 months to prove myself. Nope. Nope. You have been visited by the wealth rat. Subscribe in 12 seconds and he will share his wealth with you. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.